as the cliche would suggest. But there's no purpose. And if you that goes back to one of our segments today on the cultivating the self. That it's all about the process, not the end. The professor guy, Robert Carter, talking about the cultivation of the self. It was in the Buddhism segment. It was the two-parter in the Buddhism show. Anyway, what he was talking about is that the cultivation of the self is a process, not an end. It's the path that you take is what's important. So mushrooms is just another path that you can take. And in taking that path, you're open to new things. But it's not a purpose. It's not an end. It's not going to get you anywhere. So it's just like one, has some scotch, and you get that sort of buzz from alcohol, or one smokes a doob, and you get that sort of heightened awareness from ganja. Mushrooms is similar. So it's not so much that it adds anything, or not so much that it has purpose, but that it gives you another level of perception, so that when you're sober later on, you not so much you do remember it, but not so that you remember it.
You remember what the feeling is like.
No, not the exact opposite. So that when you're normal, you're able to perceive things now when you're normal that you're not otherwise perceiving. So it's not that you remember your dose, it's that your dose teaches you a cognitive ability to see the world in a way that you were previously not able to see. So like I don't take mushrooms anymore, and I don't really need to take mushrooms anymore, because I pretty much learned how to see the world in the way that mushrooms had previously taught me. So I can now see other planes of the world because of all the times I took mushrooms. In that regard, that, same with if you smoke enough pot, you can get high without smoking any pot. Because you've sort of learned the mental trick that is being high. Like, the Dalai Lama, he doesn't need to do any drugs. That nigga's high anytime he wants. Right? And that's just because he's a master.
You can bring yourself to that state.
Versus like an addict, like an alcoholic or a junkie. There's someone who is like sort of spiritually broken and uses drugs as a way to get to that level of being high. And they don't know that they don't need drugs to do that. And once they learn, then it's easier for them. So I'm going to pull over after the intersection.
Yeah, no problem.
Because I think it'll be easier for me to stop. Actually, if you're going on the subway, I'll drop you off at the subway entrance.
Perfect.
Although you may be going north-south. Then you got to change anyway.
That brings us to the end of this segment. We'll be back after a word from our sponsors. Peace, man.
Bye. And that's where you have to spontaneously get into the commercial.
Yeah.
All right, see you next week, eh?
Mix that, like a little topical talk like that, a little R&B underneath.
Because that's what I love about old school.